Oh guys, what is up? It is me, Prince of Otis, and I'm back here with another video. I hope you guys like the new intro. I definitely fucking love it. I literally can't get the song out of my mind. I've told people who told me and commented me like on the comments and said it was good. Yeah, I just can't get the song out of my head. I just love it. And thanks to the channel that allowed me to actually be able to use this music without being copyrighted. You know who it is, go down to my link in the description, you'll find them. It's honestly awesome because the reason why my intros honestly have been lame is because I can't use music freely anymore or it's gonna get copyrighted, so I have to use YouTube music. But you know, now I'm back and I think I might just keep that intro. It's pretty good. We're gonna get into the video. This is what if Asta was the reincarnation of Zoro. Let's go. Now, while on his deathbed, Zoro, who was surrounded by his comrades, told them to keep adventuring because they will do great things even without him. They start to cry as his eyes lose life and he dies while smiling. And all he thought before he died was, I wish I had another chance to train with the sword again. Oh well. Bye. However, instead of dying, everything just goes white and his eyes reopen in a new body to see an old man picking him up. He was reincarnated, but without his memories. And this is when his new life begins, being Asta in the world of Black Clover. The father takes Asta and Yuno inside the house as he proceeds to set down the basket the boys were in. He leans in closer and sees their name, and as he reads them, baby Asta proceeds to kick him in the face, knocking his tooth out as the priest screams in pain. Well, you're a rowdy one. Jesus, were kids always this strong? This doesn't matter though because he still plans to raise both of these kids into fine young men. A few years pass as Yuno and Asta gain more brothers at the orphanage and Sister Lily who gets taken in. Asta just saw her as a mother figure because, like in his past life, he is very dense and doesn't understand emotions of love and can never show them towards someone else. As Asta grows up, he always had the urge to fight and work out, making him known as the village junkie, the battle junkie. He had abnormal strength for a kid and would always be picking up sticks to swing like a sword. And whenever he swung these sticks, he would send out shockwaves of wind blowing back people. This made them wonder if he had wind magic just like Yuno, who was blessed by mana and was incredible for his age. But he didn't have any mana, and they knew that. He was just unknowingly using one of his attacks from his past life, only using pure strength. Asta found this attack interesting, but since no kid would train with him, yes, even Yuno, he would usually go into the forest defeating animals with a stick sword basically, and throwing rocks at them, and also using his abnormal strength only at the age of 6. And he would always return back home very tired, injured, and with animals that he hunted. This caught Yuno's attention as he began to sneak out to watch Asta fight, and he was impressed because Asta would always be training, so this made him want to train as well. Asta would always get stronger, with his injuries usually healing in 2 days or so, but he would always fight stronger animals every time, making him way stronger and making it harder for himself because he doesn't want to go easy on himself. This is fun for him. One day, he planned to fight a bear that he thought was always the strongest animal in the forest, sort of like the king of the forest. He snuck up to the animal and just gets smacked into a tree. But he gets up smiling and he blitzes it, kicking its feet, making it fall. He then gets on the bear's back and he jumps at the back of his head with all of his strength and slams his sword into it. However, his sword breaks. Asta then says, breathing heavily, well, at least I incapacitated it before I lost my weapon. But to his dismay, the bear starts to rise and he falls to the ground and looks up to see a really mad bear. Asta says, bring it on. I'm not afraid of you. He rushes in head first and the bear charges him as well. He meets the animal with a punch, but unknowingly covers it in invisible hockey. When the two meet, Asta stood in front of the animal with a broken arm, but the bear is hurt as well, having a cracked skull. But it does not try to attack Asta again, because it can feel that this kid isn't going to give up. And Asta is emanating intense bloodlust, looking more savage than the animal itself. So the bear runs away as Asta falls back, breathing heavily. Next time, I'll win. Oh. He passes out and is found by the Damning Kingdom swordsman Kruger, who looks at this bloody kid passed out on the ground, and so he picks him up and brings him to his house. The next day, Asta wakes up on a futon with the sun shining on him. He notices that he was bandaged on his arm and chest and wonders who helped him out. He steps out to see Kruger, who says hi to him. Asta then says, "Thank you for saving me, sir." Kruger says, "No problem, kid, but what were you doing out there anyway?" Asta just says, not even caring, "Oh, I was fighting a bear." This shocks him, and then he notices that this kid is actually really buff. He asks if Asta wants to train under him, and Asta's eyes just sparkle. However, he realizes that he has to go home because it's been a day, and tells Kruger that he will meet him around the same place where he found him knocked out because he has bad sense of direction. Kruger agrees and sees Asta run away and is impressed that this kid can still run that fast with those injuries. Asta just keeps running forward and forward through the forest, and he luckily made it back home and gets scolded, but they're happy he's back. Yuno then asks about his bandages and Asta explains everything. Nash then says, "Wow, I can't believe you fought off a bear and lived. That's so cool." Asta then says, "I guess so." After a while of resting, he meets up with Kruger in about 2 days again, and they start training, and Asta is getting stronger and stronger. Kruger is just impressed at how naturally this kid just wields the sword, even noticing how each of his swings can create shockwaves that blow back enemies, and this strange invisible armor that he can only describe as pure energy. So Kruger capitalizes on his training, making him do techniques and creating techniques for his natural abilities. This goes on for a longer time than the original, as Asta proceeds to train with Kruger for 4 years straight. In these years, the kids have grown a lot, especially Asta, who easily towers over Yuno and is way too big for a 10-year-old and way too bulky. And Yuno is way more adept at using his wind, but funny thing is, he's never had the courage to ask Asta to spar, so they never did. But this didn't mean that they were distant in any way. If anything, their bond, I'd say, was way closer as brothers. Yuno doesn't act like a patronizing asshole either, and his magic is way stronger. As for Asta, he's currently possessing only 2 techniques, which can be devastating in different ways because he alternates them based on a situation. First one is Flying Phoenix. He cuts down his opponents with a lot of immense force, being able to even split a mountain in half. And the second is Armament, which is like armament hockey. The only way that he knows how to use armament is occasionally cover his sword with it and use it as an invisible barrier, and he's at the point where he can turn it into a blackish color. He also knows he can cancel out magic, so he thought it must be his magic, but it isn't, and his teacher just couldn't tell him. One day the boys were on their way through the city just hanging out when 3 men approached them, one of them being really drunk. It was morning with the sun shining very bright, and the man then notices the pendant that Yuno has and tries to take it. Asta cuts in saying, "Sir, I don't know who you are, but trust me, you really don't want to do this." The man gets mad at his pretentious tone and uses a fireball spell at them, which Yuno just destroys immediately, and Asta appears in front of him in a flash, punching him in the gut so hard that a bunch of spit just comes out of his mouth, and then he falls. Asta then says, "Why don't you take your little buddy here and bugger off?" The 2 scared men grab their friend and run away while calling them monsters, as Asta asks what the hell was that about. Yuno then replies saying, "I don't know, but this is happening way too much." They then brush this off and just continue walking on their merry way. After that day is over, Asta goes to meet his master at night, and even though he had bad direction, he set up things to remind him of what way to go, and he arrives. Asta says, "Hey sensei." Kruger says, "Oh, how you doing? Come on, I have a gift for you." They both step inside the house and Kruger shows him a sword just hanging on the side of the walls. Asta then asks, "So I'm getting my sword?" "Well, come on, give it to me." Kruger says, "That sword has to choose its owner. It's been known throughout the world as a cursed but powerful sword. Wanna test your luck?" Asta smiles as he aggressively grabs the sword and pulls it out of its hilt to reveal a katana with a purple blackish color, and he can feel it slightly draining his energy. Asta with a daring voice then says, "So you wanna play hardball, huh? Wanna take a little wager?" Asta then grabs the sword and just throws it in the air as it starts to fall back down, spinning. Kruger thinks that it's about to fall and chop his arm off when he sees Asta having a really confident smile, so he decides to trust his student. As the sword falls back down, and just as it was about to slash him, by a stroke of luck it misses and lands with the blade stabbing clear into the floor as if it was butter. Asta then picks up the sword as it shines, and he says, "I think I'll name you..." I really don't have a name for you." Cougar falls back on his head as he gets up, saying, "God, don't build up suspense like that. Naming a sword is serious, you know. That's gonna be your long life partner." Asta says, "Sorry, but I really don't know what to name it. Besides, best way to give it a name is to find out while I fight with it, right?" Kuro says, "That's my student." Asta has been training intensely with his nameless sword, and during the time he finally got to fight Yuno, he felt as if his sword was sapping Yuno's strength, specifically his wind magic, which he can then return back at him. He doesn't know if it can work on all types of magic, but he's gonna find out soon. He names this technique, honestly I don't have an idea, so it's up to you guys. Have fun. He also did Zoro's training, which was running with big boulders and squatting with them, as well as carving some into swords with his real sword and swinging them. His muscles were so compact and were growing so fast that sometimes he couldn't even control his strength, like when Goku bitch smacked Chi-Chi through a house. I don't hate Chi-Chi, I just wanted to say that. But eventually he did get the hang of his strength, and despite all of that, however, he looks pretty lean, just like Zoro, despite being so monstrously strong. And when it comes to Haki, he has gotten almost complete mastery over his armament. He has also shown signs of possessing observation Haki, but he can't control it in the slightest. It just activates based on instinct, or when he's about to die and he feels something coming at him. Also, he doesn't like to cut his hair. It grew so much that it went down to his shoulders, so he had to tie it up. And he has a ponytail now. So as for Yuno, he also started training physically along with Asta, but he would never keep up. He did this because Asta could always cancel his magic or steal it, but he pushed himself to do bigger spells than Asta could repel or steal. Soon it was time for the Grimoire ceremony, and Asta was sleeping under a tree with his sword at his side, obviously, and a toothpick in his mouth, saying, "Today is just perf." He gets interrupted and kicked in the arm by Yuno, who tells him to get up because it's time for the ceremony. Asta gets up mad, saying, "What the hell are you doing? Let me get my naps. God." Yuno then says, "So you don't want to get your grimoire? That's not the point. You shouldn't have kicked me." He starts walking towards the tower with Yuno, Sister Lily, father, and the kids from the orphanage following behind, who wanted to see how they would do. Far off in the distance, as they're talking, Yuno would just say, "Well, it wouldn't hurt you anyway. Why are you so mad?" Asta then screams back at him, saying, "That's not the point, you brat." Now the two walk in, getting looks from all the nobles, who are calling them scum and insulting their clothes because they look shabby. However, being used to this, the two don't say anything back. And the two start admiring the structure of the building and how many grimoires reside inside it, and wondering which one of those will become their grimoires. The elder then shows up as he starts his speech. "Welcome to the tower, young ones. Today, your future will be granted. Hope, faith, love. I am the head of this Grimoire Tower, and I've been waiting for this new generation to come, hoping that you will break your limits, and heck, maybe even some of you try to become Wizard King." This gets a bit of laugh out of everyone because nobody thinks that they can reach that high. And he continues, "Now this is the beginning of the rest of your journeys, young one. Godspeed. Let the ceremony begin." The grimoires then start flying off the shelves as everyone reaches out and grabs their grimoires, obviously in different varieties of magic, being most unique things from anything that Asta and Yuno had ever seen. Above everyone else is just grimoires lighting up the sky with their color and mana. Asta just exclaims, "Wow." This is when Yuno reaches for his grimoire, and out comes out a 4-leaf grimoire for wind magic. It shines better than anything in that tower, and he declares that he's gonna be the Wizard King just as it lands in his hand, and everyone starts cheering. Now while everybody is cheering, Asta starts to smile, and this is when his sword just starts to rattle a bit, and he can feel it. He pulls it out of its hilt and points it to the sky and whispers, "No, Yuno, it's gonna be me." Everyone starts looking at this weird kid pointing out a sword in a room full of grimoires, and so they start laughing and murmuring, "What is he doing? He doesn't even have any magic. Freaking commoners." This is when his sword starts to shine a purple energy which pushes everyone back. This energy starts to fill the room as the side of the tower starts to crack, and out of it comes out of Grimoire radiating the same type of energy. Then it reveals a clover having 5 leaves, and everyone can clearly see this because it's not dirty or bad looking. It's polished, it's huge, and it has the most ominous type of energy that they have ever felt before. Then says, 5 leaves? What the actual hell, Asta? Says looking at Asta and obviously surprised. The book then starts to close as this slowly flies down to Asta, and his sword just flies out of his hand into the grimoire. This surprises him, but then when the grimoire lands in his hands, he opens it and sees a drawing of his sword, with the name Demon Dweller Sword next to it. Asta then says, "So that's your name, huh?" He holds up his grimoire by his side and starts to walk over to as everyone clears his path, being completely shocked at the fact that they just saw a 5-leaf clover grimoire, and wondering why they still can't sense any magic. Doesn't make any sense. Asta then reaches, and looks at him face to face, saying, Don't get me wrong, little bro. You're strong, but if anybody's gonna be the Wizard King, it's gonna be me." And that's actually where I'm gonna leave this off. I really hope you guys enjoyed that what if. I enjoyed making it because it was short and easy this time, and it also perfectly encapsulates everything that I wanted to say about Asta's character without actually describing his character to you. And that's what I actually want to start doing now. I don't want to just say, "Oh, he's this way," and you'll know. I want to describe it to you so you can know through the way I describe him and what he does through his actions. So again, I hope you guys love that. If you want to hit that subscribe button, please, and also hit that like button and share this to anybody who might like what ifs. Also, don't forget to hit that bell icon so you can always know when I post these. And and also another new what if will be coming out the next day, so stick around for that. And actually, before I go, again, I did this again. I'm actually trying out new stuff with different mics. When I say mics, it's not actually a mic. I'm using like apps from my phone. So I don't know if this app was a little wonky, but if anything, it's better than the other one. And I just edited it all together. I just hope you guys know, and I am trying my best. I'm not being lazy here. And I actually buy this time. Have a good day.